land throughout the winter. It's a living crop. It improves soil health, improves biological activity in the soil, but it also allows them to produce more feed. You saw the schedule there. I'm not sure if it's exactly what he was hoping for. I know we had some problems. I think one of the things I think you saw with the video is that, you know, if you're going to do this, winter annual, summer annual, get your alfalfa in on time, it's a challenge because everything's got to be done almost on clockwork, and there's a lot of field activities that need to be done. But it certainly, I think, improves the economic, short-term economic outlook for cover crops anyway, because you've got a feed source, and then you're cycling those nutrients more intensively. You're putting a manure on, maybe a smaller land base than you might have if you're not triple cropping or double cropping, but you're cycling those nutrients throughout the cropping system much more intensively and making use of the land that's available. So this year, Tony, the triticale actually got put in a little bit late last year. Things were going a little late. They got put in, actually it was mid to later October. Typically what we like to see with triticale is it going in the first part of September. If you want to use it for a feed crop, you're going to get better yields that way. But actually, in our measurements, things look pretty good. This is what it looked like on May 28th, just a couple days before the harvest. And then you saw the harvest, and there's a quick shot of the chop there. One of the challenges here is that at that time of year, you're probably aware, you know, with forages and, you know, some of the challenge there is it's a challenge to get these crops to dry down, particularly a fairly heavy yielding crop like we have with triticale. This is a chop length. You can see it's fairly long. Sometimes he tells me that he has not been able to get it down to the moisture where he would really like it, the high 60s, right in that area. And he's chopped a little bit on the wet side, but and he's been happy with the results. With a long chop length, one thing that does is rupture less cells, and you get less leaching and water movement through the stack and draining away from the pile. So a long length does that for you. And it's also the way he likes to fit it in his cropping system is that as he looks at the feed for his close-up cows and his dry cows and his heifers, he's really looking for a way to reduce nutrient density, increase fiber. You know, so in the past, before he did this, he was mixing a lot of straw in with his rations, buying a lot of straw, bringing it in. And really this is a bit of a substitute for that. You know, so it's an opportunity to increase fiber, reduce nutrient density, and he's feeding still some straw in that ration, but much less. So, his sense is that it's a very palatable feed. The cattle like it, they really like it, and it's been storing well for him. And, you know, he's had some challenges with it along the way. So, I also, you may have noticed the analysis this year that we did, feed analysis, and this was done right after harvest, right at harvest. The day that they were chopping, I took some feed samples and we sent it in. So it actually was drying pretty well this year. It got down to about 63%, actually that's moisture, not dry matter. And the yield was, we did some spot measurements around. I'm not sure if it exactly matches up with his estimate based on loads, but really a pretty good yield. And he looks for, you know, the 6 to 8 ton yields as long as things work well. He gets it in early in the fall, first part of September, things will move along pretty well and he's able to get it done. Now he lets it go until early boot to increase dry matter because he's targeting, you know, that the close-up cows, the dry cows, and that's what he's looking for. Now, triticale makes excellent feed for high-producing cows, but you've got to get it off at the flag leaf stage earlier. the later it goes, the more fiber it's like other feeds. I mean, you get it young, and it's a very good feed for high producing cows. But the challenge is at that time of year, a lot of times, well, in Michigan, if you're trying to make dry hay, the same thing, it can be a challenge. And this year was a particular challenge with some of the rains we had. And in fact, after harvest, when he wanted to go into Sudan grass, manure applicator was here putting things on. I think actually the custom manure applicator, Dan Shaw, actually got delayed. He got rained out because we had an extended rainy period, and things just held off. So that Sudan grass window that he likes usually closed on him. So, he's not looking so much then for how do I maximize my Sudan grass. It's I really want to ensure a stand of alfalfa, so I'm going to harvest one way or another, so we're ready to roll, and that alfalfa is seeded by August 15th. And that's basically what he did. So that window closed. He looked at the opportunities, what's out there in terms of the ability to produce Sudan grass. What is the potential yield? Is it going to be worth the seeding cost and the harvest cost and all that stuff? And he just said the window closed on him on that this year. So the field stayed fallow through June and July. Then he switched over to the preparing for alfalfa, and that was in fairly early. And actually, one of the fields is this one right out here. You may have noticed the new alfalfa seeding out there when you came in. It's looking pretty good. And another larger field down that way. So you can see here, we were at early boot stage. Relative feed value, relative forage quality looked pretty good. Good yield of forage, for the heifers, dry cows. And you can see what the analysis of crude protein looks pretty good. ADF, NDF, total TDN, and some of these things look pretty typical, I think. We usually see potassium and phosphorus well within that range. So, generally he's pretty pleased with how this has been working out for him. Some of the challenges he's mentioned is this seems to work well for him. A winter forage, winter cover, and then harvesting that, going to a summer annual, and then going in. And in other cases, he's tried to come in ahead of harvest triticale ahead of corn. He'll have to, I guess, convey a sense of that, but I sensed a little bit of disappointment with that because of the challenges. If harvest is delayed, it delays corn planting, and then if it delays corn planting too much, he takes a yield hit on the corn. So, he's a little bit wary of that. Another option that he's talking about, I think, for this year is to, following triticale, picked up a couple hundred extra acres. He told me he's thinking of going to soybeans on that ground, and then following the triticale with soybeans. So that'll give him a little longer window to see how that goes. So, that's a general sense of what he's been doing and how it's working for him. But I think in terms of manure management, it really is, I think, what you could think of as a sustainable intensification of nutrient use, because he's putting that manure on the ground, but he's cycling it off, he's trapping it with the crops, so it's less likely to be lost nitrogen through volatilization, through leaching, those types of things. He's cycling the phosphorus, so he can keep his soil test values to a reasonable level, and he's getting the additional feed, and those are things that are working very well for him. So I'm not sure where Tony is. I think there must have been something that comes up. But any questions about that I can answer? I still think he'll be here. But if there's any questions about what he's doing or why or how things are working, I'd be happy to convey what I've learned by working with him this year. Is anybody experimenting with cover crops or using cover crops on the home farms? I know at least Kim is their experience with cereal rye for a spring feed. Is that challenges?
How we follow up with soybeans usually
Works out for you better?
Get it off early, blend in
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear you guys come in.
Okay. I know you dairy farmers sleep in late, so.
Well, that is okay, but it's tough to get the corn in, or at least we found that it's tough to get the corn in. So then we came up with a great idea of, instead of planting any wheat, we'll put Sudan grass in behind it, and that's where we'll seed our alfalfa to. And we kind of like that. So now we're planting the triticale. We let that head out even. It's pretty much fully headed out by the time we take it off. So it's more of a filler, kind of like a straw. If time permits, we'll put manure on after the triticale and then put the Sudan grass in. Take one cutting of Sudan grass off about the middle of August and then seed it to alfalfa. That's what we were gonna do here, but it was so wet this spring we didn't get the Sudan grass planted. So, and there's lots of reasons we didn't do it. We had, I don't know if you guys seen that video about with that boat that's floating around. My first stage was about 1/3 full of sand and organics and stuff, and we wanted to see if we could get that empty with that boat. And being it was right close to the lagoon, that's why we wanted to make sure we did that before I had to go in the underground with it, and it worked. So we were just too late to put Sudan grass in. So that's really that's how we've evolved, I guess, if you want to say. We are not putting corn in after the triticale anymore, just because we thought we were taking too big of yield hits. We'd lose. We were getting, with the triticale, we were getting 4 to 8 ton of triticale, depending on how things go. But we were taking a 2 and 3 ton corn hit, so we decided to quit. We said we didn't like it. So that's how we've gotten onto the. With this, we can let it go a little longer, get our tons of triticale up in that 8 ton range, and still have time to get a 4 or 5 ton of Sudan grass off.
What's your biggest challenge in doing this?
Getting the manure on and still getting the crop off, and getting it in. And so we like this fall, it looks like we're going to be able to put the manure on and then put the triticale on, because it looks like it's going to be early. Last fall, we didn't get any manure on. It was October 27th when we planted the triticale last fall. I mean, it wasn't even out of the ground. It was about that tall. And so it was late coming off this spring. It was, God, Justin, do you have the date? Do you remember when we cut our triticale? I don't even remember the date. It was late.
This year?
Yes, this year, because
it was about the June 1st.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking we were getting close to the 1st of June. Yeah. Typically, we're going to do that on the 25th or something of May. So we're a week later, and I like to have the Sudan grass in by the 1st of June. That way I know I get something, Yeah. You hate to spend all that money and then not get anything, but it's been working good. It's just a matter of whether we can get the manure on and when we can get it on. So we kind of let weather dictate when we're going to put the manure on.
But I think this year was a combination of a sort of a late harvest for triticale,
yeah,
and then that wet.
Yeah, and then it was wet.
I think actually the custom applicator got rained out, didn't
it?
He
did.
And then, by the time everything got done, that window closed.
Yes. And we could have not put the manure on, but I wanted to see if I could pump that stuff out of there. Manure was high priority this year because I wanted to try that. I could have got the Sudan grass in had I not been so adamant about putting that manure on.
Yeah.
But I was gonna try that this year, so I wasn't as worried. And I knew we were gonna have lots of feed, so I wasn't quite as worried about getting the Sudan grass in this year. So that's why we did what we did. But typically, we'll put that. And that what's nice about the Sudan grass, or I like, or doing it that way, is you don't have that wheat coming back into your alfalfa fields. You know, we don't even spray them anymore. We just typically there's no weeds there.
So typically you expect 4 to 5 tons of Sudan grass
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
as fed.
Yeah.
So is it about the same quality, you think, or?
Yeah, well, my feed guy ain't here either, and I don't know. I don't know. I never. That's not my department. We use it for heifer feed. If you know what I mean. It's not corn silage. It's heifer feed. It's filler. What I like about it is you can put it up just about any moisture, and it turns out to be decent feed. Last year it was raining every other day. We put it up at 75% moisture, and the heifers loved it. You know, it doesn't turn to crap.
With a long chop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's as long as you can get it, or?
It's not quite as long as it can get it, but it's close.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So.
Since you've been doing this, have you seen any improvements in your soil health that you perceive?
Perceive. I wouldn't say so. No, I wouldn't. Not that I can see. No, we don't notice that it's working up better or anything. It's easier because the ground is. You're working it when it's not wet. You know, the thing we are gonna try this year. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but we're gonna try it. Is we're gonna have enough corn that we're actually gonna shell some corn, and we're gonna snap some corn, and we're gonna try putting the triticale in behind that. On them corn stalks, so I don't have to mess with the corn stalks in the spring. Because this ground's heavy enough that corn stalks, it just don't dry out. And so we're going to see if we can put the triticale in the fall behind the corn stalks, and then put the Sudan grass in, so I don't have to mess with the corn stalks when it's so wet. I don't know, we'll try it. We might fall on our face.
You're gonna work the corn stalks down and then plant the triticale?
Yeah, yeah. Because we're gonna snap it, so we'll be right behind the, right behind the chopper anyway. So as soon as we're done chopping, we'll start snapping, and then we'll work it and see if we can get this triticale to get a good. Hopefully we get a good stand. I don't know. We'll see. We're a little afraid of being too much stuff, too much garbage on the ground to get a good soil to seed contact, but we'll see.
So no manure application after the corn for the triticale?
Not this fall. I mean, things got to go perfect for that to happen, and I don't see it happening. It would be great, but I don't see it happening.
How many acres of triticale are you trying to plant each year?
Last year we did 250. This year we're going to do 300.
If Sudan grass had worked, you'd had good conditions. How many acres of that were you looking at putting in?
We do the same amount.
Okay.
Well, we follow it pretty much. It's pretty much dependent on how much hay I get, and we like to rotate about 200 to 250 acres a year out. We had some winter kill last year, so this year we're going to do 300. We'll rotate 300 acres in. So that's what's determining it now. We used to try to plant corn in part of it, and I gave up. Has anybody else done it? Is anybody doing triticale corn? Weller was doing it first, where you're going next, I think. And he quit too, just because it works, but boy, things have to go good.
And one thing with a cover crop, I'm working with another fellow near Midland, pretty poorly drained, fine textured, heavy soil. His challenge has always been to get on in the spring. He does chisel and kind of fits it, but we've been working with him the last couple of years. We've been working cover crop in it, and he really liked it this year because the cover crop actually pulls moisture out in the spring. It allowed him to get in and work it, and the root system that was in the soil actually made the soil a little bit easier to work up, being drier. So for him, it worked well. Now, if you're on a coarse textured soil, you're not looking to suck moisture out of the ground. So
I don't do beans, but I was curious about whether triticale and then beans would work, you know, because you can plant beans June 1st and get away with it. Corn, you take a pretty good hit when you plant it June 1st. So but I don't have enough acres to do beans, so, but I thought it would work with a bean. The guy's looking to get some filler for cows and have enough acres to plant beans, it might work. But typically we chop all our corn. We've just been in the Garden of Eden this year, so everything looks really, really good.
I know those guys up by Greenville, Meadow Rock, they're outside of Greenville, they were doing triticale for a while, but I don't think they're doing it anymore.
Were they following it with corn?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it about 3 years, and one year, the first year we did it, it worked great. We thought, this is easy. Second 2 years, it didn't work so good. And we said, boy. In fact, it was not very good at all, so we quit. But a lot depends on when you can get it in and when you can get it out. That's what the spring, because it lays there a long time to dry. It takes 4 or 5 days of drying to get it even. While we were trying to get it to 65% moisture, we gave up on that. You know, we just said we're chopping it. So, but it feeds good, even at 75. So,
Grain feed any straw with your...
yeah, we're still feeding. We cut it in about half. We were feeding 10 pounds of straw to the fire-offs, and we're down to 4 or 5. So it works. It works great. It's great feed. I love the feed. I do love the feed. It's easy.
really a challenge of getting the work done. Timing.
Yeah.
You got pretty good capacity though with your equipment.
Yeah,
so,
we can. I mean, if
time
the
to
weather
jump.
cooperates, we can get it.
You
done.
guys be jumping. It's time to jump.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
You must cut high. Cut it. You don't have time to pick rocks in the fall.
we roll it. Gary, we go get Albert's roller and we roll it down. That helped a lot. The first couple years we didn't do that. And with the disc bind, we were fixing a lot of. But now we don't even. And then we went and bought the. I don't even know what they call them. Where you can put the rollers down and keeps your head up. We don't even run them anymore. We just keep it. We keep it flat. We don't try to go get every ounce. You know. And that helped a lot. This spring we didn't have any trouble at all. So, yeah, without rolling it, you've got to be really. It's scary when you go out there. Not that we have any rocks. So. I guess we like it. I guess we're going to continue to do it. I don't really call it a cover crop as much as I do just a way of managing around. It's a way to get alfalfa seeded and still get a fair amount of tonnage off the ground. Wheat hasn't been a real profitable crop, and this way we feel we got something to feed that heifers and dry cows. So that's why we're doing it. That's all I got. It is inside.
15 minutes. Okay. So do you want to just talk about your dairy here?
Well, we're milking about 1,500 cows. We've got a double 17 parlor. Our manure, you got your own manure. We're using sand lane. I still like that thing. I don't know. It's simple. We can still drag line our manure. We like drag lining manure. We got pipe buried about 3 miles that way, a mile and a half that way. So we don't have to put a whole lot of manure on trucks. I guess what I like about a sand lane is I can do that. I don't have to. I think the money savings in a sand lane is on manure hauling, not on the sands. That's what I. But, I don't know. I think sand is the gold standard for cow bedding. So that's what we're doing.
So John Switzer is here with the Conservation District. I know you had a few things you wanted to say. You have a few things you wanted to say today?
I didn't prepare anything. We are working on a grant that helped put this field day on, but we're also going to be working on trying to get people to install cover crops. And especially in this area, we've got a lot of dairy farmers, and trying to figure out a way to incorporate cover crops into a manure system is always a challenge, and that's why we came to Tony, because I know he's been messing around with it for a little while. And
He said it was half. He counted loads off that 80, and it was half. That was second cut. So the third cut. Not anymore. I used to. Oh, it does. It works great. I just hate doing that to the neighbors. Oh, that's why I quit. It is. I just hated doing it because it always seemed like we were doing it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know. And it does. It works great. You get a heck of a yield increase. You get every once in a while, yeah, you snuff a little out, but not much. No, but you don't have no neighbors up there anyway. I don't know. That's why I quit. We got that little. You just go right straight down here. There's like 12 houses. You know, and it's like, so we. That's not to say we won't do it. Because that does work.
That's too bad that drives your good agronomic decisions. You know, that really stinks that you don't do that anymore. You know it's a good practice, but you don't do it because
The problem is it really
neighbors.
stinks.
But it's a good practice.
It is a good practice. It is a really good practice. It's good for everything.
Energy-wise,
And it's easy. It's a great thing, other than that one thing.